Pat Martino's book, Linear Expressions, is an excellent resource for getting inside the mind of Pat. However, many players find this book a bit overwhelming and confusing. In this lesson video, I'm going to show you 4 essential ways that you can use his book and method in order to take your improvisations to the next level. I'll start this lesson by playing a short etude that demonstrates Pat's ideas in action. If you'd like the Guitar Pro and PDF file for not only this etude, but every single example in this lesson, then make sure to check out my Patreon. And if subscribing is not your thing, you can purchase all the materials for a one-time fee. Okay, so the 4 main ways to use this book are 1, to learn the fretboard, 2, to visualize ideas and lines around guitar shapes, 3, learn minor language using Pat's method, and lastly 4, to generate long 8th note lines using what Pat calls activities. I would highly recommend purchasing this book to get the most out of this lesson, and you can find the link to that in the video description below. Now let's begin with the first use, which is learning the fretboard. In Linear Expressions, Pat shows us how he visualizes the fretboard, and basically it's all based around guitar shapes and chords. For example, Pat starts the book by showing us the main inversions of G minor 7. Now, Pat thinks about everything as minor, so these G minor 7 shapes all have the notes of B flat major around them, since B flat major and G minor are related. You'll notice that each of the chords have the notes of B flat major around those. So we have you'll notice everything is around this shape, and this would continue up the neck. Pat would want you to practice these scale shapes going both forwards and backwards, along with the voicings that they're related to along the guitar neck, in every position and in multiple keys. Secondly, Pat gives us what he calls activities, which are lines that help solidify the positions and the notes around those positions on the guitar neck. We'll dive deeper into this later on in the lesson, but to start, just learn the first phrase of each activity from this book and try to not only visualize the scale shape around it, but the chord shape as well. Pat would want you to learn the start of these activities in as many keys as you can. Now, this is where I would interject what I believe is helpful with these activities. Learn each one starting on different strings and then combine them with the various scale positions. For example, let's take the start of the first activity. Now, play the same activity or line starting on the A string instead of the E string. Now you'll notice that playing the activity up here now aligns with chord form number 4 of G minor 7. When you are finished with this line, simply walk down the scale from the form that you're around. In this case, it's the scale based around chord form number 4. You could alternatively finish with the end of the activity in this position as well. So do this exercise now with every chord form, or rather the start of every chord form. For example, if we do this same activity starting on the D string, we will now be around this chord form instead. Here is what this exercise would sound like if we do it in this part of the neck. Okay, so now you know how to start practicing the fretboard in order to start visualizing it like Pat does. You'll also notice that even by practicing these activities and chord forms, we are starting to create great sounding lines. The next step of learning from linear expressions is applying our lines over chord progressions. In order to do this, we need to understand Pat's minor conversion theory. All this states is that everything can be minor. Major chords are simply minor chords built off the 6th. Dominant chords are minor chords built off the 2. And half diminished chords are minor 6th chords from the flat 3rd. So let's start applying linear expressions over a 2-5-1 chord progression in F major. So for both the G minor 7 and C dominant 7, we could play G minor 7 tonalities over it, and over the F major, we would play D minor tonalities. Let's then use our activity from chord form 1 over all these chords, switching between the minor key centers when necessary. Sounds great, right? Let's also walk down the scale that goes with each chord form that we're playing the activity around. Let's do this now with another activity instead of the first one. Let's now take the start of the activity from chord form number 4. So we're going to use that one since it's over G minor 7, over the 2 and the 5, and then take it and move that same line to D minor over the F major as we did previously. Being able to piece the fragments of the activities together in this way can be a very effective way to start generating Pat-style lines. The last and arguably most difficult way to understand linear expressions is by memorizing and understanding all of the different activities. This is very difficult as each activity off of every chord form is about 5 to 6 measures long. For example, here is the activity off of chord form 2. Super amazing, but also super long. To better internalize this line, I would recommend breaking it up into smaller fragments or chunks, kind of like what we've been doing before in this lesson. For this one, I would break it up into 4 separate chunks. treat each chunk of this activity like a line or a lick. That means you should practice each line starting on different strings. For example, let's look at chunk 2. Then try linking these lines around the activities all across the neck. For example, you could start by playing this chunk starting on the low E string. Now, this, as we know, is centered around chord form number 1. The whole activity for chord form number 1 sounds like this. Then try and use a common tone to connect our chunk that we've taken with this activity. Now this line could of course be played all over G minor 7, but based on the rules that we learned before, it could also be played on C dominant 7, or B flat major 7. Practicing mixing the activities together like this is a great way to generate lines that sound like Pat. I want to thank everyone for watching this lesson about Pat Martino's linear expressions and 4 ways to use it and incorporate it into your playing. If you like my Pat Martino style videos, then I have a couple that I've done that you can find in the video description, as well as one in the corner of the screen that you should check out. Also remember that to get the most out of this lesson, I would encourage you to either purchase or sign up on Patreon to get the lesson materials for this lesson. In those you'll find everything written out along with the chord forms that Pat uses. Also, I want to give a shout out to the Patreons that support me. Without you guys, none of this would be possible, and I want to thank you sincerely. If you have any more Pat methods that you'd like me to check out, make sure to let me know in the comment section below, and I'll give it a look. Alright, thank you guys so much for watching this video, and remember to always keep swinging.